Kyle Kulinski's transition to shitlib 100% complete with Matt Taibbi. This is someone else who cannot be taken seriously. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy Dore and Matt Taibbi, I wouldn't be surprised if they were both getting money from a foreign government to spread propaganda. But I know Kyle Kulinski made a video about the Bernie to Trump pipeline because of Tulsi endorsing Trump. And he mentions Jimmy Dore, and Jimmy Dore is not happy about it.
Most recently, I was included in a video with you and Tulsi and Russell Brand by Kyle Kulinski. And
did you really?
So yeah, so I want to show you, first of all, our friend, just to remind you who Kyle Kulinski is. Well, first of all, I'll show you this. Here it is.
High-profile examples of what you'd call the Bernie to Trump pipeline. Tulsi Gabbard is a great example. RFK Jr. is a great example. He endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016. I don't know if he did in 2020 in the primary, but he did in 2016. He, of course, endorsed Trump this time around. Then, of course, you have some high-profile media figures who have effectively gone from Bernie Sanders back in the day to Donald Trump now. People that come to mind, Jimmy Dore, Matt Taibbi.
So let me just remind you of who Kyle Kulinski is. Kyle Kulinski is a guy who sided with Big Pharma during COVID. Kyle Kulinski is a guy who sided with the military-industrial complex.
Siding with doctors is not siding with Big Pharma. Siding with medical science is not siding with Big Pharma. That cannot be conflated. Jimmy Dore does this all of the time. Just because you're an anti-vaxxer doesn't mean you're anti-Big Pharma, buddy.
During the Ukraine war, Kyle Kulinski is a guy who's turned his back on every principle he ever had when he was a Bernie supporter. He's gone from being a Bernie supporter to a supporter of the military-industrial complex, Big Pharma, and corruption inside the Democratic Party. He's supporting Kamala Harris, who's right now funding and committed to funding the slaughter of the Palestinian people. So there's no red line for him. He's become the exact thing. And just to prove that he's become the thing that he...
All of Kyle Kulinski's videos are very critical of the Democratic Party. He's not happy at all with how they've approached Palestine. But of course, Jimmy Dore does not care. Jimmy Dore is pretty similar to the Green Party video I made, where it's someone who wants to feel morally righteous. He doesn't care what happens in the world. He wants to be mad. He wants to get views. He wants to be morally, I'm better than you, whatever. Kyle actually took a turn where Kyle now cares about what's happening to real people in the real world. What a shocker. How dare he grow as a person and pay attention to what actual political movements look like. And even now, Kyle is pretty idealistic when it comes to progressive commentators and how much he wants to push the Democratic Party. But he's realistic with helping kids get food and helping healthcare be expanded and helping, you know, a fascist that is against democracy not be elected.
Pretends he used to hate. I'll play this guy. Turncoat Don put this together, and this is always fun to watch. Let's watch.
Former Soviet Union.
Yeah, Kyle's never changed at all in his talking points, but he does reference the Democratic Party as the lesser of two evils that should be supported, only because he sees the potential to move the party in a better direction, which is the proper thing to do. If you don't believe the party can be moved in a better direction through coalition building and building power, then you don't believe the world can ever change. And you need to change that thinking because it can be changed. We just all need to do things that actually create change.
Turncoat Don put this together, and this is always fun to watch. Let's watch.
Former Soviet Union and other authoritarian, dictatorial regimes. We're really talking about other people being dictatorial. And Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, as bad as Biden is, you guys are significantly worse, and it's not even close. The Democrats are just way better. They're just way better. They're a trillion times better than Republicans.
First of all, I'm very impressed with Crystal here because she's a successful working mom and still finds time to homeschool Kyle, which is nice. But here we go.
And dye his hair, I guess.
Let's watch this. Now, this is going to be shocking to see.
That's a low blow, man. Don't go after Kyle Kulinski's hair, all right? It's been like 50 years. I know he's probably only like 40-something, but he's had a bad haircut. Yeah, he's had a bad haircut since he started doing like political commentary on YouTube. I don't think Kyle Kulinski has ever had a good haircut. That's not a fair way to attack Kyle. It's just how he is, man. His hair just grows that way. He can't cut it. It just grows bad.
To some people, maybe of someone who watches his show, but it's not shocking to me.
All right, so there's a lot I have to say in response to this. These kinds of criticisms from this guy, I honestly believe that these people usually overstate how bad Trump is, and they understate how bad Biden is. Well, you're more ideologically in agreement with Biden than you are in agreement with Trump. Well, actually, when it comes to the First Step Act, I agree with Trump on that. When it comes to pardoning Alice Johnson, I agree with Trump on that. When it comes to TPP, Trump's against it, Biden's for it. I agree with Trump on that. I agree more with Trump on North Korea than I agree with Biden. I would need to be convinced that Biden...
Even in this clip, Kyle's listing relatively niche political issues that are not necessarily representative of his current positions. And the only thing that's slightly based on like substance would be the TPP. But other than that, he's saying a bunch of things that are very niche that aren't affecting policy as a whole.
Would fight for at least one or two of my top 5 issues. Medicare for all, free college, living wage, ending the war.
Yeah, and he's comparing it with a bunch of policy items, like a grocery list of what his ideal positions would be. And this ties back to the radical idealism of the Green Party that I spoke about the other day. That is one of my favorite videos I've made talking about the Green Party, so check that out. But he's talking as if, you know, I want free healthcare or nothing. And that's his old mentality. His new mentality is essentially, you could look at Tim Walz in Minnesota. Democrats are so much better than Republicans. Of course, they are still controlled by companies and big money and all that stuff, but they are still going to do a million things to help people, and the world will be much, much better with Democrats in power. He's just giving up on radical idealism. He's still idealistic, but he's being realistic in the margins on ways we can actually make solid progress to help people, because Kyle cares about helping people. With everyone's flaws, if you care about helping someone, you're not just going to say vote for Trump or don't vote.
And UBI. The people who say Trump is a fascist and they think he's like,
Yeah, he's saying free healthcare, UBI. He's saying all these really fun policies. That's not real politics. In real politics, you don't get in and say, I want UBI and free healthcare and all that stuff. There's movements and ways to get this done. Even Bernie's plan for Medicare for all would take years and years and years and years until Medicare would cover all Americans.
The people who say Trump is a fascist and they think he's like, basically, we can't survive another 4 years of America with him. Yes. The country will survive 4 years with Trump. The country will survive 4 years with Joe Biden. Again, I think they understate how bad Biden is. Why? On so many core issues, he's against us. Me, at least. I can't speak for this guy. Joe Biden pushed for NAFTA. He repeatedly pushed for TPP. He's a supporter of the Iraq War. On all the pivotal issues of his time, he was wrong.
Yeah, this is 100% pre-coup, because Kyle's kind of laughing at the idea that Trump's a fascist. And I think Donald Trump doing the coup was one of the things that shocked Kyle Kulinski to have a better position on this. And also the fact that union support in America is reaching historic highs. I don't think unions have had this high of favorability for like 50 years, which is huge. And Kamala and Tim Walz are pushing labor heavy, like super heavy. He was happy about getting out of Afghanistan. Kyle was happy with a number of things from the Biden admin. And yeah, he got shocked into a more pragmatic position. Someone like Tim Walz is also helping moderate Kyle because he's seeing all the good you can do once you let go of, you let go of the idea that you need utopia now.
So stop overstating how bad Trump is. The country's still going to exist in 4 years. And understating how bad Biden is. Because it's annoying. I just don't agree with the people who are like, he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, the country's not going to exist in 4 years. You're hyperbolic and you're ridiculous.
You got knocked the fuck out, man!
When is the last time Jimmy had someone on that disagrees with him? I don't know. Does he talk to people who disagree? Has he had debates or anything like that?
So
I can look on his channel.
Is this guy called us?
that guy.
I know he won't debate Sam Seder. That was a big topic. He would run from Sam Seder no matter what. Also, Steven Crowder would have to be baited into a debate with Sam Seder.
Can we swear in the show?
Yes.
Fuck him. What the fuck? That's so infuriating. God.
This individual right here is very, I'll say silly. He does not have many good ideas, and obviously from his reaction there, you can see that he's not really processing the world as it is. He's probably getting paid by, I don't know, I'm not going to say Russia, but he's getting paid by someone to send out a really bad message. But yeah, I cannot stand his commentary ever.
It's pretty. It's so he
just being arrogantly dumb. He gives platforms to really, really far right individuals with zero pushback, and they relate on being anti-establishment.
used to be exactly where we are, telling the truth objectively about the objective truth of the situation and the political realities. And then he dyed his hair blonde, started dating a 40 millionaire, and all of a sudden it flipped, because I'm pretty sure he's got a Democratic donor somewhere who got him, because his channel went dead for 2 years after he lied about me. And now it's zipping right along again. And it's only because he's on the corporate algorithm, because nobody likes that show and nobody watches it, because everybody knows that about him, that he used to say the exact 180-degree different. And now he says, you and I are right wingers for saying the same thing he used to say. And he was telling the truth. He was right back then.
But he even said it more strongly than I would.
That's right.
You know, I mean, it's amazing. But there are a lot of people like that who've made some kind of calculation. I think that's the worst species of this kind of person, is not the one who does it for social reasons, or because they don't know any better, or because they're just basically herd animals by nature, but because they decided something. They sat down and like did some kind of math and decided to completely turn their faces inside out. That just drives me nuts.
And it's a really lazy form of smear, right? And Kyle Kulinski used to be the opposite of that, and now he's just as big a shit lib, liar, smear merchant as anybody. And there's no nuance into any of his reporting. It's all Democrats good, Trump bad.
There's zero nuance at all. Kyle Kulinski, I'm pretty sure if you look on his channel, still attacks Democrats very often. It's not Democrats bad or Democrats good, Trump bad. He covers things pretty equally. And if you're covering things equally, it's going to look like you're more anti-Trump, because right now there is far much more of a reason to be anti-Trump. And the Democratic stories here are about supporting labor, being against child labor with Democrats, Donald Trump denying elections, Tulsi going from Bernie and supporting, democracy to supporting a fascist, talking about just Kamala's polls, making fun of JD Vance, Trump giving insane lies, telling insane lies, Republican cabal caught funding Cornel West's presidential campaign. That's along the topic of Russia funding many media networks and individuals also. Right-wing funding of Jill Stein and Cornel West to try and take votes away from Kamala. And he reacted to this interview and also Kamala's DNC speeches very negatively. But he's just giving nuance. So Kyle is giving nuance now, and Jimmy Dore is really not liking the nuance. So Jimmy's mad at the opposite of, oh, look at that lo-fi music. Jimmy's mad at the fact that Kyle's getting more mature and more intelligent.
Got Trump derangement syndrome, and he's got the balls to call people like you. You went from Bernie to Trump. He went from Bernie to the military-industrial complex to big pharma to pro-censorship to every bad thing there could be possibly in the world, to pro-genocide now. He's gladly, with a smile, going to vote for that.
It's around the media world in 80 days. He's visited all those places by balloon, I think. But yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And to go after Tulsi Gabbard, who's really one of the most maligned people in American politics. People forget this, but she, when she announced her run for the presidency in 2019, I guess it was, NBC timed to the day that she launched her campaign, this massive hit piece tying her to Russian bots that was sourced to Hamilton 68, you know, the bullshit.
That was very true indeed. Just like the picture of Jill Stein at the table with Russian oligarchs and Michael Flynn, who is a far-right fascist who called for a coup of the U.S.
Was
Oh, wait.
sourced to Hamilton
I'm not
68,
being shown.
you know, the bullshit site that we found in the Twitter files. A complete smear job, and that presaged the whole Russian asset thing. And now she's being placed under surveillance. She's got air marshals following her around on airplanes because she's on this ridiculous TSA quiet skies list. And even that doesn't arouse any kind of sympathy. Even if you don't
any kind of sympathy for supporting foreign governments. And it's not even supporting foreign governments, because if the U.S. was doing something actually bad and someone wanted to call the U.S. out, whether it's a whistleblower or a foreign government, that's different. But you're supporting a foreign government that is anti-democratic, that's pro-authoritarian, that is trying to just take whatever land they want in Ukraine, just because they claimed it. Now they have the muscle to take that land, and the U.S. responded by helping Ukraine push back on the Russian aggression. And you want sympathy because Tulsi is now going to be watched a little bit more closely.
Even that doesn't arouse any kind of sympathy. Even if you don't like her, where's the concern about the issue among people on the left? That used to be something that people would freak people out in the Bush years. You would think somebody like Kyle would be moved about that. I just don't understand it.
Well, people forget that the reason why the Democratic Party started hating on Tulsi Gabbard was she was the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, and she stepped down because she wanted to support Bernie Sanders, and she wanted to get corporate money out of politics. And as soon as she did that, she became persona non grata to the Democrat establishment. And then in 2019, she decided she should run for president too. So she ran against Bernie. So now all the Bernie supporters then also turned their back on her. Her crime was wanting to run for president. And so they made her out to be all these horrible things. And they even lied and said that she didn't support Medicare for all, which she did. They still say that Tulsi Gabbard didn't support Medicare for all. When she ran for president, she supported Medicare for all. She supported a different version of Medicare for all, the one that was ranked number 2 in the world, which was the Australian healthcare system at the time. So she was for keeping your private insurance, but she also was for everybody buying into Medicare for all. Everybody had to be bought in. And so anyway, that's just the real problem was she told the truth about the wars. She told the truth about Syria. And you can't do that. And Tucker Carlson found that out. Again, Tucker Carlson didn't get fired for lying, just like Julian Assange didn't get put in prison for lying. They got in trouble for telling the truth. You don't get in trouble for lying. I assume
Politics is so fun for them. It's so fun, dude. It would be so fun. And I like, being someone who cares about real politics and real political movements, and, I work very closely with these things. Individuals like this, you don't need to worry about them too much because they never impact the world. Their audience never impacts the world, but they can be very annoying. So I would just say to be cautious. I wonder if Jimmy Dore is involved in any of this. I don't think so. I think Jimmy Dore is actually just like losing it constantly. But yeah, it must be very fun just to yell your like most radical opinions 24/7 without caring about any repercussions for how people will be affected.